Welcome back to your weekly roundup of everything that happened in Zenless Zone 0, where we will cover everything that you missed inside and outside of the game. If you're wondering why there was no news rundown last week, that's because there really wasn't much happening that week. Now, the same cannot be said for this week though, because there are some pretty big things happening. Starting off with in-game news as always though, firstly, the most important thing is that on Wednesday the 15th, the second half of patch 2.7 will begin, meaning that the banners will be changing. So if you haven't already gotten your Nangongyu or your Yidhari yet, this will be your last chance until they do come around back on a rerun. Reminder again that if you do not get Nangongyu, then you cannot get the special main menu wallpaper for getting all three Angels of Delusion. Although don't worry, if you are missing any of the Angels of Delusion, whenever they do have a rerun, if you do get them again, that special wallpaper will be available yet again. It won't be a time limited thing for just these few banners. But either way though, in their stead, when the banners do roll around on the 15th, will of course be the banner for CISSIA and the rerun banner for Seed, with the featured A ranks in these banners being both Pulchra as well as good old Big Ben, i.e. Ben Bigger. Also on the 15th will be the start of the Enna into your lap event, where you'll be able to earn 10 Boopons for logging in over the course of 7 days. Then later on Friday will be the regularly scheduled Shiyu defense reset. This time around the buffs will be as follows. For the first room, all Agent Ether damage will be increased by 20%, and also while in Ether Veil, Agent attack will be further increased by 30%, and also their attacks will ignore 10% of the enemy's Ether damage resistances specifically. So in other words, this will be a great time to use your Angels of Delusion team to take advantage of all of that Ether and Ether Veil buffs. The second stage buffs will increase all Agent electric damage by 20%, and furthermore, basic, special, and EX special attacks will have their damage increased by 40%, and ignore 15% of the enemy's defenses. This stage is basically begging you to use one of the, what will now be many electric attack agents for this stage, especially with CISSIA and Seed both being available once the Shiyu does roll around. The final stage buff will increase Agent max HP by 15%, as well as their Ether and Ice damage by 20% each. And after an agent uses their EX special, their sheer damage will be increased by 15%. So this is basically the Yishen or the Yidhari stage. Now moving on to social media news though. Let's first go over what was missed 2 weeks ago, because there were some new wallpapers revealed, namely one for the new month of April featuring Nangongyu. As always, there is both a desktop and a mobile version of this wallpaper, both of which are available to download for free using the link in the description below. That is not the only Nangongyu wallpaper though, because there are also a set of wallpapers of Nangongyu from her promotional videos. These are also available to download for free in the description below. Otherwise, this past week we've also had some birthdays, namely Seth's and Vivian's birthday. So happy birthday to them, as well as anybody else who has a birthday in the coming week. Otherwise, lastly, moving on to the speculation zone, a lot of the past reveals of the upcoming patch are slowly coming together. We have come to now expect that Velina and Norma will be the upcoming playable characters in patch 3.0, and we've also seen in betas that a wind element is being implemented in the near future. But now, supposedly, we have reason to believe that Velina will be a wind anomaly agent when she does arrive. Now, this is of course still very much subject to change, since remember, this would be for a 3.0 agent, and currently we don't even have a beta version of that patch available yet. So as it stands, there is no actual playable version of Velina as a wind anomaly agent, and it's more of just in talks that she is going to be one. And so of course this can still change. Although, if Velina being a wind/anomaly does change, I think we can still expect to at least see something wind related out of at least one of them in patch 3.0, with how much stuff is being brought up related to wind. And because one of the important aspects of wind is how it interacts with other elements, I think it can also be safe to expect that we will see some sort of anomaly agent that will be interacting with the wind. Whether that be Velina or Norma, only time will tell. But instead of talking about these agents that are so far off in 3.0, how about taking a step a little bit closer to the current times though? Because it might be pretty easy to already start overlooking some of the current upcoming agents and looking forward ahead into 3.0. Now that the Angels of Delusion are all out, which understandably those three had a lot of hype for how long that they were being teased, maybe it's just me, but personally it feels like the rest of the agents, namely CISSIA and Promea, are sort of kind of getting shafted in terms of popularity, being right after the Angel of Delusion and then also slightly before the potential shiny new wind element agents. Now, one person I didn't mention was Billy, and that's for a very good reason, because he has got the weight of the world on his shoulders, poor guy. Not only is he a male S-rank character, but he is also an upgraded version of an original cast member. And I cannot stress how important that feels to say, because it feels like with Starlight Billy, it also means going back to the roots of the quote-unquote original character design philosophies of the game. He's sandwiched between a whole bunch of pretty anime women in fancy clothes here as a goofy little intelligent construct thing, right? It's like a harkening back to the original types of characters we were expecting to see coming out of the game, right? So it will be interesting to see which of these upcoming characters people are most excited for. I'm sure, again, much like the Angels of Delusion, there is a lot of hype for Billy, specifically his Starlight Knight version. In fact, you can answer that question yourselves in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you all think and your opinions are of the upcoming agents. Otherwise though, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, then liking, commenting and subscribing is greatly appreciated. Otherwise, until next time, if you are going to be pulling for CISSIA, I wish you the best of luck. Bye bye.